Hello and welcome to Real Books Don't Have Batman. I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshawn Vasquez.
And this week we're talking the best comic book movie. We're not talking our favorites because we could go on for days. But we're talking what is the best?
Batman or Robin.
Alright, hello and welcome to Real Books Don't Have Batman. I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshawn Vasquez.
Rob Richard.
And we're talking not our favorite comic book movies, but literally the best. Like what stands out as being the best comic book movies. It doesn't have to be superheroes, but in general, comic book movies. So I will start with Rob.
Okay, so the best comic book movie, the way I take it as in like the movie that captures the feeling of a comic book, I'm going to say straight up Avengers.
Avengers?
That is the first superhero movie, comic book movie that I watched. And I was like, I feel like I just picked up the new issue of Avengers.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with that.
All right, you?
It's, as far as best adapting where it feels just like a comic book, I would kind of agree. Same thing with Iron Man 1.
Yeah. Iron Man's kind of like, it's kind of perfection. Like, I mean, I hate to say it like that because it's not that great of a movie, but I mean, it's kind of like a perfect superhero movie. It's like...
Yeah, and it doesn't feel, you watch it and no one had in their head, oh, we're going to see an Avengers movie.
Yeah.
This is a fresh take on a superhero that has been on the screen before. Let's see it. And that you watch it and there's so much potential in that movie. And they just nailed it.
Yeah, and they didn't feel like Iron Man 2 where they're just like, hey, Avengers is happening.
Yeah.
Like, it was literally just like, hey, this is our movie, nothing more.
Yeah.
It's
and like the whole Avengers thing, it was like, if Iron Man had tanked, we would not have the Avengers.
I feel like those movies are great, but I love The Dark Knight. I already said in previous episodes that The Dark Knight is my favorite.
Love The Dark Knight.
Yeah, The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite comic book movies is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
I wasn't sure if you're going to take it that way, because like it's based off a comic book.
Yeah.
But I like it for so many other reasons, because I've read the comic books, and the comic books, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
There's some bits and parts that I fucking lost, but
Yeah.
other times it's great. But I think it's a great piece of work for Edgar Wright.
Yeah, I feel like it was his perfect movie to adapt.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was his first good attempt.
I think that just gives it points on both counts.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good filmmaker movie, and also, it's like, they adapted it well. The only thing I feel like that really changed from the comics is the ending. But, I mean, it's the same argument with Watchmen.
The ending was being developed at the same time the comic book ending was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's the same argument with the end of Watchmen. Like, they're both great adaptions, and the ends changed, but does it really hurt to change the ending?
See, my problem is the Watchmen is that he literally just put it on the screen, except the ending.
Yeah.
And you wanted more.
Because as a filmmaker myself, I totally fine with someone taking a movie and adapting it. That's why I love Christopher Nolan's trilogy, because he added his twist to it. I think that's the best comic book movie as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Avengers is a great comic book movie, but Dark Knight is a film. Dark Knight Rises.
It's like even people who don't read comics could be like, wow.
Yeah, it brought a new audience to see Batman, because, Batman Begins, it still feels like Batman, but everyone saw Dark Knight and they were like, holy shit, we can take these movies seriously.
Yeah.
But Watchmen, most of the credit I give Watchmen the movie, I give to the comic book.
Yeah,
because it's on the screen, and like the only thing now I got Christopher Nolan directed, yeah. Zack Snyder. The only thing Zack Snyder brought to it is that he made the action scenes more intense,
but
and that takes away some of it. Like, they were like fucking breaking their arms and blood spewing. It's like, no, they're everyday guys who don't know what the fuck they're doing wearing costumes.
I think what you have to give credit to Zack Snyder is that Zack Snyder adapted the movie literally everyone said can't be made.
Oh yeah, I actually saw the movie first, and then read the comic, and then felt like I appreciated the movie more because I realized how hard of a graphic novel it is to make.
I'm not saying I don't, I give him credit for doing it.
Yeah.
It is a feat, but it's like, as a filmmaker, there's not a whole lot for me there.
Yeah, because it's like, it's all in the comic book. You're kind of just like, boop, done. And I feel like what the Nolan trilogy did was like, hey, we have 75 years of Batman. Like, we got huge amounts of Batman stories. Why not make an amalgam of them? You put them all together. Like, you would never, you would expect a Joker versus Two-Face and Two-Face story, but it was the way he weaved those two together that made you go, wow.
So if you have problems with Watchmen, that must mean you have some major problems with Sin City, because Sin City kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a giant fan of Sin City. Again, it's fun to watch. It's a nice looking movie.
Beautiful film.
You know? And, like, other than that, it's as a filmmaker, it's like James Cameron, you know? I think he's a technology-wise, he's an incredible director. But film-wise, he's just no. You know?
I would disagree with you on Sin City because I've read a lot of Sin City, and they do a damn good job at adapting it. Sometimes you could put the panel right next to the screen, and you're like, holy shit. But I think bringing Clive Owen in and Bruce Willis was kind of like perfect choices, you know, for Sin City. Like those were and Mickey Rourke.
Even
Mickey Rourke was
Watchmen
like,
is also very well cast.
No, it is. Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
they
Rourke's
didn't
actor,
fuck up.
Yeah, they knocked it out of the water, but you know, everyone's like, "Oh, it's so deep and everything." It's like, no, you know.
Well, you'd have to read the book first to be like, "That's deep."
Yeah, and like Watchmen. He put the comic book on the screen, and of course, he can't do the ending in that movie. You know, it's really ending the comic books. It's really impossible to do it because no one will take it seriously.
Everyone would be like, "Oh, a giant alien, freaking great."
Yeah, everyone would be like, "I don't get it," you know. But he left everything setting up for that. You know, the reason the comedian was killed. You know, his whole scene about it's all a big joke. It doesn't really fit for.
It's ironic, but it's not as so funny that the comedian would kind of go and kill himself.
It's like you know, I'm totally fine with you changing the ending, but you should have gone back and actually read the comic book to change it.
Yeah,
because it doesn't fit. You know, because it's like he loses his mind because it's a giant alien. You know,
Should we talk about other favorites since we've just been on this?
Oh, sorry.
Maybe.
I just really hate Zack Snyder.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah. I feel like there's been some good they're not my best, but they did a good job at adapting Punisher. I feel like a Punisher they did a damn good job at being like, here's Punisher, and here's exactly how it's supposed to be. It's not like Green Lantern where they were like, hey, we did it exactly like the comic book, and you were like, no, you didn't. Not at all.
I don't know.
Screwed it all up.
Punisher, I watch movies as a different view than the comic book, so you know it could be totally different. But I just thought the quality of it was not there. You know?
I don't
that's
like
me
Punisher.
personally. I mean, if you're a fan of it because you're a fan of Punisher, that's fine.
I don't care for Punisher, so I never even bothered watching the first movie, neither the Dolph Lundgren one or the other one.
Yeah.
I watched Warzone, and that was kind of ridiculous fun, but like really bad.
Yeah, it's bad because you kind of go, what makes a good comic book movie, and then what makes a good movie? You know, like, is there a difference, or is
there's a difference, and that's where the filmmaker, like the director, that's where that comes into play. I think you know, it's like Josh Whedon's perfect for Avengers, you know, because he's going to appeal to the nerds, you know?
He knows how to do a team. Like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, you watch Firefly, you watch Dollhouse, you watch anything, you go, Josh Whedon knows how to handle a team, and he knows how to weave all those characters together because he's more of a character guy. Like,
yeah, I mean, I have giant issues with Josh Whedon, but that's a whole nother story, you know? But I think he did a terrific job with Avengers.
Yeah, and it's kind of. Are you guys worried that in Avengers 2 he might have too much going on, or?
Well, I feel like I'm
so.
already worried because they already brought back Phil Coulson is his name.
Yeah,
that is like. I'm worried that the studio is now having too much a say in it. You know,
it's annoying
because it's like I feel like the studio was like everyone liked that guy, bring him back.
Well,
you know?
I guess
and
we're going to
I
explain
felt
that in the Shield show,
and I felt that way with Iron Man 3, where it's just like a bunch of producers sticking their fingers in the pot.
Well, yeah,
that's a discussion. I mean, Iron Man 3, I thought it was great when I first watched it because I was like, they did the extremist plot, holy crap! But they screwed up so many other comic book things. It throws off a lot of comic book fans.
When you asked, when you said what's different, where do you draw that line between a film and a good comic book movie?
Yeah,
Iron Man 3 is a fun movie. It doesn't really try too hard.
No.
You know, whereas Zack Snyder, he tries way too hard. You know, with the Jesus Christ allegory through the whole thing. You know, falling back. You know, he's in the church with Jesus Christ right there.
He's
33.
hanging out.
You know, so it's like. That I felt was trying too hard to be a film. Whereas Iron Man 3, I knew I was going in for fun because Marvel's just in it for entertainment and money wise.
Yeah. Well, I'm different on the Man of Steel because Man of Steel, I felt like they were able to build the Superman origin story in well. That was a well structured plot because I didn't want to be like, hey, I wonder where Superman came from. You're like, I don't give a I know where Superman came from. Everyone knows he's a Kryptonian. No one's like, oh my god.
The flashbacks were actually kind of refreshing.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'll agree with that. He did. a better way than I thought it was. I seriously thought it was going to be an hour of how, who is he, blah, 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 and then, battle at the end. But I was happy the way they broke it up. But that being said, that's like the one thing I could find in it.
Yeah. So what's the balance then?
What?
What's the good film and good comic book film?
Like, that's a hard thing to discuss.
Yeah, because I think Christopher Nolan nailed it.
Yeah, like people argue that for The Dark Knight all the time.
Yeah, I think Christopher Nolan nailed it because he brought in stuff into it. But like Zack Snyder, I feel like he just tried way too hard, And it's like Dark Knight, it's subtle with the whole George Bush administration going on, things like that. It took me like 6 times to watch that movie to figure that out.
I mean, if you're going to talk like they adapted it well, and it's a pretty good movie, and I mean, it's not on anybody's top list, but I would say that the Hulk movie, the Hulk with Edward Norton's
The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's
a
fun movie.
Yeah.
They adapted the comic well. I never felt like the entire time, that's not Hulk. Like, I never said that to myself, and I felt like it was a fun movie. So, Hulk's not the best movie ever, but they really did a damn good job at being like, here's Hulk.
Yeah, I don't think people get enough credit.
I do wish it would have become the film that it was originally intended to be.
What do you mean by that?
It was meant to be a lot deeper.
Yeah.
And they cut it down to a summer blockbuster.
And, well, I think that was a good choice, possibly, because, like I'm saying with Zack Snyder, if they had took it deeper, would I have enjoyed it?
Well, I think it could have benefited it.
It's one of those things that's...
It is kind of up in the air, but I like that Joss Whedon took one of those things that they cut out and made it canon for the Avengers.
Yeah.
The whole thing where he shoots himself, that was a deleted scene.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
But,
Yeah, so we got to end it off. So, guys, best comic book movie. Go.
Best comic book movie? I'll go with Avengers.
Avengers?
Those are my reasons earlier.
For a comic book film, a comic book movie, I'd probably say The Avengers or Iron Man 1. For like a best film, I'd go with The Dark Knight or Watchmen. Specifically the Ultimate Cut, though.
Okay.
Well, if we're going for film, I'd say Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I love The Dark Knight, and I feel like The Avengers was such a great movie. I don't know if it's the best superhero movie, but...
It's up there for like feeling like a comic book.
And I mean, I just love Scott Pilgrim just because of the editing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
like, as an editor,
a personal
you're like,
favorite. Personal favorite's a totally different discussion.
You
but if you're asking me what's the best comic book movie for a feeling, feel like a comic book, it's Avengers. Easy.
Yeah, definitely.
A personal favorite, I'd go with Scott Pilgrim.
Because there's even like side plots where you're like, what's Hawkeye doing? Oh yeah, shooting arrows at people. Fucking great.
Yeah.
But that's it for our discussion of the best comic book movies. Thank you guys for tuning in, and stay tuned for next week's episode of Real Books Don't Have Batman.
Thank you for watching. Once you click here to subscribe, links in the description below. You can click right here if you want to support the comic and buy Identity Crisis. And we're going to be talking about it, so read it, buy it, read it, and buy it.